Hey, greetings, fellow gamers. What's up? It's BC, Alloy 7, of course. It's been a while since we've had a chance to chat. There's a couple of reasons for that. Some things great, some things not so great. I wanted to get into it. I've talked with pretty much all the people in my Hey, welcome back once again, friends, and thanks for tuning into Alloy 7. I thought it was high time that I finally did a channel update because there's been a lot going on, and then in some ways there's been a lot not going on because there hasn't been much content lately, and I want to get into that. Most of you who are on my mailing list, like if you've gone to my website and you've signed up for the mailing list where I give out discounts and codes for games, and sometimes I send out encouraging messages to YouTubers to try to help you guys out because the bulk of my viewers are actually YouTubers who want help. Most of you kind of already know what's going on because I've been talking about it a bit. Those of you in my academy, and you're going to hear my kids hollering up above my office. It's just inevitable when you do something in the daytime and you have 40 children. But most of you in my academy, which is my paid program, you know exactly what's going on because we've had a chat about this in detail, and I've put out some posts and stuff in our private group. But for those of you who are casual watchers or even regular watchers just here on the channel, you may have noticed that for like the last, I want to say at least 3 weeks, there really hasn't been any content until today. I'm sure some of you saw the Why Most Video Games Are a Waste of Time video, which I put up today, and Shredder Steve's gamer site talking about personality disorders and how that relates to video games. But I wanted to give you a formal, yo, this is what's going on because I haven't done one in forever. First of all, we crossed not only 10,000 subscribers, but 11,000 and still counting, which is amazing given the fact that I put out very little content and still pull as many subscribers as I do compared to people that put up content every day. So that's a testament to how awesome you guys are and a testament to, you know, in some ways, how good some of the content that we put up over the years is. But thank you for that. First of all, I want you to know that based on today's conversation, especially those of you who engaged me, the channel is not going away or anything crazy like that. Anna is still here. She's working on a bunch of great content. Shredder Steve, as you can see today, is still putting up great content. And I'm starting to work with other creators. One person in particular, which is why today's video was so appropriate, is my son. So the first key thing that I want to talk with all of you about is I have been slowly grooming my son to take over Alloy 7 because I have another project that I've been working on. Most of you probably already know about that, but you're not aware of the fact that I've been slowly pulling myself away from the gaming aspect and even the YouTube coaching aspect because I believe I've kind of hit the threshold of people that I want to have in the academy, and I really focus on people who are dedicated, like hardcore people who want to come to work, not just folks who want some gimmicky tips and tricks that I can tell them about how to get 100 subscribers. I don't really want to work with anybody like that in a paid program because I think they won't really get their money's worth out of it if that's all they want. You know what I mean? Like you can get that stuff on a blog. And I think I've reached kind of the threshold as far as gamers go with what I can do with the gaming part of our academy. So we've got some changes going on there as well that I've been talking to the folks about. But I've been grooming my son to work on the channel as well to take over a lot of the gaming stuff that I do. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. The main reason is what you heard in today's video. If you haven't watched it, I'll put a tag or whatever, not a tag, a card up above that explains kind of what's been going on with me. The short version of the story is this. Back in 1995, when, you know, I was still playing Super Nintendo at the time, and this was, you know, the PlayStation was getting ready to come out, and gaming was going through a big change. And it was a change that I really didn't like that much because I grew up, you know, doing 2D platformers and Metroid and, you know, older school RPGs and stuff like that. And games started to become a lot more story driven. And it's not that I don't like stories, it's simply that most video game stories to me are a little bit too overly simplified, not because I think the writers are bad, but because games don't really lend themselves to helping a storyteller tell a succinct, concise, well-developed story. Some games are actually able to do it, but they invest monumental amounts of money and time to be able to do that, and most studios don't have the budget to make that happen. Okay, and a lot of the games that I played in my past as a kid really don't have that same flair that they had when I was a kid. I've been playing games for a long time. So I've been slowly etching myself. So anyway, that's 1995. I just kind of quit. I was like, I'm good. And then Nintendo 64 came out. I played a little bit of that, but I hated it. I was like, this sucks. Next. And then I know a lot of you that grew up in that era probably think I'm crazy, and that's fine. That's what this whole thing is about, is we're all different. That's what I think makes us great. And then PlayStation 1, that was even worse than the Nintendo 64 to me. I hated almost every game I played. PlayStation 2 wasn't much better. There was a handful of games there. Xbox 360 kind of came out and gave me a bunch of stuff that I thought was okay, but it was really more, I have kind of certain tendencies that make achievements work for me. So I think in Xbox 360 era, I was more interested in getting achievements and seeing how many I could get versus really enjoying the individual games. Although there were a couple of my favorites that came out during that era. But as time kept going on, games just got less and less and less and less enjoyable. Not because I think they're bad, but because I think they're made in a way that doesn't suit who I am today. And frankly, because I've played so many of them, there's not really anything new under the sun to where anything really surprises me anymore. And what I find most of my joy in life in comes from being empowered and being able to empower other people, or being inspired. Video games, by and large, just aren't very inspiring to me. Their stories very rarely do that, and gameplay has never been something that really inspired me. So it's a type of entertainment that doesn't really work for me very well much anymore. That's not to say that I'm completely going to give up on video games. There's still one or two that I have my eye on that I'm hoping might kind of rekindle this. And I go through this kind of renaissance every couple of years. It's nothing new. People that know me know I go through this all the time. But it's gotten progressively worse to where I'm playing games and I'm just not loving them. And, I was really hoping Star Ocean 5 would kind of rekindle that, because I loved the first two Star Oceans so much, and it totally didn't. No disrespect to Square Enix. I understand what they were trying to do. It was a proof of concept, and they didn't have the budget to flesh it out. That's my words, not theirs, but I think it's very obvious that that's what went down. And it just didn't give me the experience I was looking for. No Man's Sky, didn't play it, but I watched a ton of it and was like, I wouldn't want to do any of this. Honestly, it just looked like a Skinner box. I'm not saying that it is, that's just what it looked like to me. And so my hopes that I had for that just kind of dwindled. So the pattern that I've picked up on is that there's these games that kind of get me hyped, but then once I get into them, I kind of like them a lot for a while, kind of like I did with Star Ocean 5. And then a few hours in, the operant conditioning that I talked about in today's earlier video starts to wear off, and then I'm just bored. And so my whole thought process is, instead of continuing to force myself down these roads of trying to play games, and over the years I've played less and less and less and less and less, I think it's just time for me to hang up the hat. And if something, like if it's like, Batman retires, but something happens that calls him back to the fight, then so be it. But I just don't know that video games are really going in that direction with VR and games as a platform model for games. That's not really the world that intrigues or entices me. And by games as a service model, an example of that is like Destiny, or one of the more recent ones that hasn't dropped yet. I think Star Citizen is going to use that platform. MMOs have been using it for years, and I don't like MMOs. I don't like those types of games. So it's just a world where video games are kind of evolving in a direction that I'm not. And that's been going on for a while. I've said that on the channel before, but I wanted to formally say it with you that where I'm going to start focusing my time is instead of investing a ton of time into playing games. Again, unless Elix comes out and it's the most amazing thing on the planet, I'm going to spend most of my time investing in my son, because in helping him start to run the channel, he's going to learn a lot. And not just playing the video games is not the thing I really care about with him. It's getting him to put schedules together and how to understand how to manage a business operation is really why I want him to have this experience. And then also how to engage an audience, how to make content for somebody that they like, not just stuff that we like. And he and I have been having a lot of conversations about that. Some of the stuff on the whiteboard back here are meetings he and I have had to flesh that out. So that's what's going down. I don't know when exactly you'll start to see the transition. I know Anna, for example, is working on some series that she and I discussed that she's going to be putting out. Steve is still working with GamerPsych. And then I'm working with some of the other creators in my academy to figure out if I can bring in some of what they do onto the Alloy 7 platform, both to help promote them, but to help them bring content to you that you enjoy so that you didn't just come here for nothing. For those of you who are really looking for the YouTube tips and tricks, that's pretty much done in terms of video. I still do a lot of it via email, so you may want to get on my mailing list over on the website. I send out things there that I think are appropriate. But where I'm really focused is on my YouTube channel, which is just self-titled Bryant Chambers. You can search it and I'll come up, and the icon is my Snapchat picture. And what I'm really focused on doing there, in very simple terms, is helping people build a winning playbook for their lives. Okay, and that's personally, professionally, romantically. We'll have relationship information in there, and this isn't like corny life coach, like you can do it type messages. This is literally some of the stuff I teach on the YouTube side is not very different from what we do in a life strategy situation. It's teaching you the principles that actually make you a better person, thus making you in your life better. And not because I'm awesome and have a ton of wisdom to share with you. I think I do have some wisdom, but because I have a ton of really awesome people with a ton of wisdom pouring into me all the time, and this is my opportunity to give that back. I'm also working right now on a product. This is not for sale, but for combat veterans. I'm building an online platform for us to fix one of the biggest problems we have, which is reintegrating back into the real world. And it's because we get disconnected so easily and we lose that sense of camaraderie that happens on the battlefield. And just for specificity, I'm focused on like frontline combat folks. It doesn't mean if you weren't in the front lines of combat, you're not welcome, but we are the ones that struggle with this issue oftentimes the most, because when you depend on another person to live, there's a love that's formed there that a lot of times is even stronger than you can have between a husband and a wife, depending on how relationships are. So that's a product, that's a program that I'm working on building. Actually, I'm working with one of the premier authors in that field to help me build it out. It's a guy named Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, who wrote the book On Killing and On Combat. So that I'm starting to focus my attention on things that can actually change the world. I try to do it a little bit through gaming, but the problem is when you do it through gaming, most people looking at video game content don't really want to hear about life and to hear about, things that, hard things that they'll have to do to help enrich their life experience. They want to come to watch video games to be entertained. It's just like when people listen to music. When I was a musician, I learned the same lesson. Sometimes you learn things slow, like I did. People want to be entertained. They don't want to have a message given to them when they listen to music. They want to be entertained. And that was why I actually quit being a musician, because I had a message and nobody wanted to hear it. Not that nobody wanted to hear it, they just didn't want to hear it to a hip-hop beat. They wanted to come and have fun and zone out. And that's been my experience as a gamer, trying to mesh the two worlds of helping people live the strongest version of their own life. I don't define what a good life is for somebody else. I help them define it for themselves, and then I give them tools and information that helps them build their own playbook. I'm not giving them the playbook for the best life possible. I'm helping them write the playbook in terms that they understand, in terms that work for them. So that's where the bulk of my focus is right now today. And you can find me over on BryantChambers.com if you're interested in that. But this has been building up actually for the better part of a year, and I've been working with Anna. That was actually why when Anna and I first discussed, I brought her on, was because eventually she was going to be able to take the reins and keep the legacy going. And truth be told, you'll probably still see me. She and I and another buddy of ours named Evan the Pixel Pusher, you've heard him here on the channel before, are working on a podcast where I won't be a regular member, but I'll be a guest every once in a while when they have a topic that I actually want to talk about, especially when we talk about VR, so I can just crap all over that. I'm not going to crap on it, but you get the point. But I wanted to stop by, give you an update why things have been so slow. As far as the Star Ocean content, I don't know that I really want to make more of it, because the game, like I talked about in today's video, I can invest another 10 hours in finishing that game, or I can invest that time in my kids. Nothing in that game has happened in the 15 hours I've been playing it that lead me to believe it's going to get, it's not a bad game per se. It's just not great. And like I said in the video, why invest your time and money in something that's not great? I do still have codes. I think I have 2 codes for Star Ocean 5 to give away, and I'll figure out how to do that. Maybe I'll have one of you that comments on this video. If you just comment and say you want it, I'll shoot you a email where you can contact me and I'll send it to you or something like that. We'll figure it out. So I'll still give that stuff away because that was part of the deal with Square Enix. But that's pretty much it for that. I'll still probably do some cameos. There may be some games that come out that I do want to talk about, just because I still enjoy talking about games and engaging with you all. So I don't think it's the last you'll see of me, but you'll definitely see me a lot less. So what you'll really have to think about is making the connections with our new folks, with Anna, who's not even really new at this point. She's been around for a while, and Steve, and then my son. And I'll probably be on some of the shows with my son as I'm walking him through how to engage an audience, and walking him through a lot of the very interesting mistakes that I made as a live streamer, and as a, not so much as a reviewer, because he wants to do Let's Plays, but there are a lot of mistakes that I made, very, very closely related to mistakes I made in the music industry, that I made as a live streamer, ways that I unintentionally didn't respect my audience, and that's something that I'm really big about. And those are things I'm going to be able to pass on to him, so that the content you get from my son, and he's quite a bit younger, so his content is not going to be quite as versed as mine is, but he will be interesting and he will be engaging, and he will have an interesting perspective. I've been watching him as he's been prepping for his Minecraft show that he wants to do. It's very interesting, his perspective on the game, and he knows more about Minecraft than I do. In the very short time that he's been putting effort in to build himself up in it, he knows infinitely more about Minecraft than I do for the years that I've been playing it. So that's going to be cool. He's got some other shows that he says he wants to think about working on, and he'll be doing basically Let's Plays there. We'll see about live streaming in the future. And then you'll kind of see me as a guest. But the Alloy 7 website's not going anywhere. The Academy is not going anywhere. I'm still working in the Academy. Still have people who are paying to be in it, so I'm still creating content for them. You still have an opportunity to get in, but remember, we're really looking for folks who want to work, and honestly, we're looking at basically combining the YouTube portion of the Academy with a lot of what I'm doing on the life strategy side, and then we're probably going to mesh that all together at some point as different products, but as part of a whole with the BryantChambers.com project. So not going anywhere. If you're in the Academy watching this and you're terrified that I'm just going to shut everything down, that's not going to happen. Especially because if it was going to happen, you would have got a long time ago a message from me letting you know, so that you could make your financial arrangements accordingly. So that's pretty much what's been going on with me. Again, thank you for everything. There'll probably still be some shows that I do between now and when I kind of finally sail off into the sunset. Maybe we'll do one last live stream with the whole gang where we get together and just have a good time, because I don't want this to be the last video I do. This is more of an update, but we'll do something that kind of helps make that transition more like in a party format, not in a boring dissertation format. All right, so if you have questions, please leave them in the comments section below, or you can email me. It's very easy to get a hold of me if you want to ask me something offline. If you have questions about the Academy, if this is your first time hearing about it and you're a YouTuber, then you definitely need to get in contact with me, because it's something that will highly benefit what you're able to do. And like I said, I can't really thank you guys properly for taking a channel that really, with what I focused on, the fact that I have over 11,000 subscribers is huge. Most people will say that's a tiny channel, and it is compared to a lot of the bigger channels. But one of the examples I give people in my coaching is kind of a free tip. Go look at PewDiePie's channel, okay? And this is one of the other reasons why gaming is not where I want to focus. I'll give you guys this one. Go look at PewDiePie's channel. Tell me how many subscribers he has. Then go look at Tony Robbins' channel and tell me how many subscribers he has. And I'll give you the answer. PewDiePie has close to 50 million now. It's 47 million and some change last time I looked. Tony Robbins is just over 200,000. Now what I want you to see, and whatever personal concepts you may have about Tony Robbins individually, that's for another discussion and debate if you don't personally like him. But the fact of the matter is, like I'm going to show you here, now I want you to tell me, what has PewDiePie done for Earth with the 47 million people that he reaches versus what Tony Robbins has done for Earth. Now you look at a person like PewDiePie, he reaches 47 million people. He brings entertainment, he brings joy to people, very important things. He also contributes to charities, very important things. Tony Robbins has personally coached, I believe it's over 20 million people. And these aren't people who are just looking for joy, okay? These are, in some cases, women, and if kids are watching this, you may want to plug your ears right now because I'm going to share this. He's coached, for example, if you've seen his latest Netflix video, women who have been a part of literal cultures where they raise the women to be raped by men in the village, okay? And these are the types of people he's helped through his programs. So I think if PewDiePie quit doing YouTube tomorrow, and by the way, this is not a hit against PewDiePie, I have a lot of respect for him. In fact, I reached out to him not too long ago to ask to interview him in our academy. I have a lot of respect for what he's been able to do. So understand this is not a hit. This is just people with different perspective, okay? If PewDiePie were to quit YouTube tomorrow, the world at large would probably not be that much worse off, okay? And by the world at large, I don't mean the entertainment world. See, I'm not an entertainer. And that's the thing that I had to spend about 10 years of my life figuring out. I am entertaining, but I am not an entertainer, okay? I'm an influencer. I'm a person who wants to help people and push people to get to where they want to be, okay? And so the packaging just doesn't work. PewDiePie, if he quit tomorrow, there'd be a lot of upset people about entertainment, but I promise you, someone would easily fill that void, all right? It's not to say that what PewDiePie does is not valuable, but I mean in the grand scheme of, think of the universe, okay? Not just YouTube. You got to think bigger than YouTube for the point that I'm trying to make. Think of the grand spectrum of the universe, okay? If Mother Teresa had a YouTube channel, how many subscribers do you think she would have? Probably close to 200,000. If Martin Luther King Jr. had a YouTube channel, he'd probably have close to 200,000, okay? So when I look at people who actually make a legitimate contribution to the world at large, not just entertainment, if a PewDiePie disappears, the world's going to be okay. If a Tony Robbins goes away, the world will be okay, but it will have a void. You understand the difference? And that's, so the world that I want to live in, I've got to switch gears because, and this is really where I'm getting to in my thank you. The fact that my channel got 11,000 subscribers is huge because the people I targeted was a very small audience. I didn't target PewDiePie, the same fans of PewDiePie. Now, there may be some of you that watch both of us. That's fine. But the people I targeted were very specific. Like I've always said, I estimated it to be around 25,000 people. I got 11,000 of that. Name one other person who has 11,000, who has, you know, up to and over 50% of their target audience. There's, you know, McDonald's doesn't have that. Okay, so I say all that to say thank you, because something must have been right about our relationship if we got this far. And I'm not saying it's over. I think the target is probably going to change a little bit here because my son is going to focus on things that are a bit different than what I did. Anna's going to focus on something. Actually, Anna's stuff's going to be really cool for a different type of audience. I'm not going to spoil it. I'll let Anna say what she's going to focus on. It's going to be very interesting how it's juxtaposed against what I used to rant about all the time and what Anna's about to do, and that's why we actually came up with the show. And then the podcast will kind of be like the good old days. Those will be the times where you can still come and hang out with me when I'm here. All right, so look, I love you guys. I've already talked way too long. If you made it to the end of this video, God bless you. God bless you even if you didn't. And like I always say, folks, we are stronger than I. I love you guys. I'll see you soon.